So, there are a lot of Barbie movies. It's hard to quantify the success of a Barbie film. As of recording time, none have been released theatrically, but we do have sales figures, and they do quite well. The first grossed over 150 million in sales, but this is an inconsistent figure, and some of them even dip as low as 2 million, but I wouldn't even say that the sales figures indicate the true value of these films. Their true function is as toy commercials, with each Barbie movie being accompanied by plush toys, playsets, costume dresses, and of course the dolls.
It's the horse from the Barbie Princess Adventure movie! She lights up and prances her hooves.
We can't be certain exactly how much the movies influence those sales, but I would imagine it's significant, and Mattel certainly finds it worth their while because they keep cranking these out. This also means that in these films, things like creative vision and story quality might take a backseat to creating sparkly dresses and showcasing playsets, which raises the question of the day, are these movies any good? And if so, which ones? So today, as someone who is outside the target demographic for Barbie toys, I am going to watch every single Barbie movie, and along the way, I am going to harshly rank them. Rather than going from best to worst or vice versa, I decided to simply move chronologically through the canon, and I can create a tier list as I go, from amazing to trash, and every rank in between. There are 46 items on this list. I feel like this is the longest list I have ever attempted to compile, so I hope I'm up for the challenge. Let's begin. Number 1, Barbie and the Rockers, Out of This World. Oh yeah, we're going all the way back. I'm not gonna do this halfway. I'm not gonna watch all the Barbie movies and not watch all the Barbie movies. The Barbie film series, as many know it, began in 2001, but for the sake of completionism, I am doing the whole roster. So have you heard of Jem and the Holograms? Barbie and the Rockers is the doll line that Mattel released to assassinate her. And in 1987, they released this film on home video and television to promote it. I was not looking forward to watching this at all because it was old and sounded bad and looked bad, and to be honest, it has kind of a rough start. I usually like my children's media to be musical. Like, if I'm watching a cartoon and there aren't any songs, I get irrationally angry about it. Like, sing something! But this cartoon is actually a rare case of too many songs. This special is 25 minutes long and there are 9 songs. It opens with 2 consecutive songs, and then the characters have a couple lines of dialogue and jump into another song, usually accompanied by some kind of montage. It's difficult to properly impress upon you how much this doesn't have a story, but I am going to try to explain the story. So Barbie is a famous rock star, and her friends are her backup band. They finish their world tour, and everyone's like, Barbie, what's next for you? And Barbie's like, that's a secret, but let's just say it's out of this world. The first 50% of this special is just awful. It's like 5 songs in a row and very little happening, just shopping, dancing, going to parties. But then at the halfway mark, it suddenly becomes incredible. Barbie gets invited to some kind of United Nations party and uses the opportunity to announce that she's going to put on the first ever concert for world peace in outer space. Her entire entourage is shocked by this announcement. You definitely get the impression that she has not run it by any of them. Like, no arrangements have been made. This is a concept directly from the mind of Barbie, and now they're all gonna have to make it happen. It's up to her 6 cool friends to arrange a concert in space.
It's not that I don't think it's a fantastic idea, because it is. It's just, there's so much to do so quickly.
You're right, Derek, but with hard work and a little magic...
We get another song of her friends training to go to space, then they hop in a big pink rocket ship that's custom made for Barbie. They dock at a space station, get ready for their concert, the space station turns into a beautiful flower, and they perform a rock concert which is watched by every country in the world. I had been unclear on what Barbie meant by a concert for world peace. I thought it was maybe some kind of charity fundraiser that would, like, help war-torn countries or something. But no, it actually turns out that the concert itself is what's achieving world peace.
Thank you so much! I know you want peace as much as I do!
She plays a cool rock song, and everybody in the world likes it so much that when Barbie asks them to consider world peace, they all start having world peace.
Today is the first day of world peace. If we all want it enough, it won't be the last.
So this special was pretty great. It was entirely devoid of conflict. It was just kind of a lot of cool stuff that Barbie did, but I have to agree that the things she did were very cool. And the visuals are amazing. The space stuff is obviously great, but even before they go to space, look at this random nightclub they go to. It looks incredible. Maybe it's premature, but I'm going to put this film on the amazing tier. Number 2, Barbie and the Sensations, Rockin' Back to Earth. I guess originally they were supposed to be aired back to back as a double-length pilot for a Barbie cartoon series, but that series would sadly never come to be. So we pick up directly where the first one left off, and the band, having achieved world peace, are in a rocket ship flying back to Earth.
Wow, what a thrill!
You're not kidding.
Yeah, it's hard to express.
Except in music.
Unfortunately, they start jamming out in their space shuttle, and the frequency of their rockin' opens up a wormhole that sucks them back in time to the 1950s, of course. This is similar to the previous installment in that it has no conflict. I thought maybe they would land and, like, the FBI would show up and think they were aliens and chase them around or something. Or maybe the conflict would be like, how do we get home? What do we do? Instead, they land and immediately meet a nice scientist. He's like, I'll figure out how to get you home. Just give me a few days. And then they just spend the next few days hanging out in the 1950s and going shopping. They also play music, and everybody likes their music, and they become famous rock stars in the 1950s.
Oh, cool! That was fantabulous! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you!
Then the NASA guy is like, I found out how to send you home. And there are no stakes, there's no suspense, like, will we be able to pull this off? It's just like easy, and they're like, great, thanks. And they go home after their big rock concert, and once they're home, they play another rock concert.
Barbie, you're my favorite.
Barbie's everybody's favorite. For all time.
Watching this episode really made me wish the series had happened because I truly cannot fathom what a typical episode would have looked like. Usually the pilot gives you like a pretty good idea, but there's truly no precedent set here. Anyway, this one was as devoid of story as the first one, but in a much more boring way. It had a slightly less insane premise, and it lost the exciting setting and visuals, so I'm putting it in the trash tier. I would absolutely rewatch Out of This World, but I hope to never see this one again. Number 3, Barbie in the Nutcracker. So now we have entered the official Barbie cinematic universe. Honestly, we're really starting off weak because I don't think there's ever been a good movie adaptation of the Nutcracker. I think people like it as a ballet because they like to watch people dance impressively in beautiful costumes. I'm not going to say that the base story of the Nutcracker could never be compelling, just that in every adaptation I've seen it hasn't been. Seeing as this is the first Barbie film of its era, it also just kind of feels like a rookie project. The voice acting is so awkward, with some characters seemingly speaking in slow motion and these long, awkward gaps between lines.
It's beautiful, miss.
Mother gave this to me. The Christmas I saw my first ballet.
Oh, dear. The mice have found their way into the Christmas boxes.
And sort of like a ballet, this movie luxuriates in a lot of long, slow sequences where you're meant to be in awe of the visuals, which I'm not because this is old computer animation and it looks very ugly. To their credit, from a technical standpoint, they did use motion capture of real ballerinas for the dance sequences, which was cutting-edge technology at the time. But watching a crude, smooth Barbie model animated on top of a dancer's movements will just never be as interesting or impressive as watching the actual dancer accomplish it in real time. Also, I want to address this thing where we spend the whole movie looking at the love interest, a prince who has been turned into a stupid nutcracker. I just kind of want to go on a tangent about a Beauty and the Beast rule. Because you might have noticed that girls will tolerate love interests who look like absolute freaks, but I think this is a bridge too far. And I think the crucial difference is the monster boyfriend can look as freakish as possible, but he has to look cool freakish. Because if he looks scary, scary is cool. But when your monster boyfriend is a nutcracker who looks stupid freakish, it all falls apart. You can't have the monster boyfriend look goofy. Like, imagine a Beauty and the Beast narrative, but instead of looking like some kind of wolf bear thing, he looks like a sports mascot. Come on, we all know it wouldn't work the same way. Anyway, I'm putting this film squarely in mediocre. I know there are worse Barbie movies, but there are also better ones, and this just isn't an interesting story. Oh, also the Rat King is Tim Curry. I feel like all the comments are gonna be like, but Tim Curry is in it, and yeah, great. I mean, he did a good job. He's good in everything. But that doesn't elevate the film for me. I mean, Christopher Lloyd was in Food Fight. I didn't like that movie. Number 4, Barbie as Rapunzel. I'm pretty sure I had a computer game of this when I was a kid, but I've never seen the film. And I'm pretty sure I never beat the game either. It must have been really hard.
Move the hand cursor around the room. When something twinkles, click on it.
So I didn't know the full story. But like Rapunzel when she discovered the enchanted music box, the beats of the story did feel distantly familiar to me, like I knew them once in a forgotten dream. Oh, I almost forgot. This story marks our introduction to Barbie pets. That's kind of become a staple in Barbie movies over the years. They like to give her animal sidekicks that are meant to be toys. Most commonly, it's some kind of horrifyingly bulbous-headed puppy with eyelashes, but sometimes they think outside the box, so I think it's worth remarking upon. So, where applicable, and when I remember, I've decided to put the Barbie pets into their own tier list, from stunning to horrifying. This film gives us two: Penelope the dragon, who's stunning, and this rabbit whose name is, I think, Hobie? Hobie is horrifying. I truly can't fathom how you mess up designing a rabbit this badly. He's so gruesome it feels like it had to have been done on purpose and spitefully. Oh, and I'll only be ranking like main animal characters, so creatures like this freak show horse are safe from my criticism. Anyway, the movie. This movie was very exciting. It jumps right into the action and hooked me right away. I feel like Rapunzel is a very thin fairy tale, so whenever there's a good adaptation of Rapunzel, it's usually because they took a lot of creative liberties. And sure enough, they do that. They add a bunch of stuff. They change pretty much everything that remains. It's basically its own story. They have these two neighboring kingdoms that are at war, this evil sorceress in her own castle, secret passageways, a magical paintbrush. They even hit you with this sudden twist where Barbie's dragon friend has a dragon dad who works for the villain, and the dragon has to repair her relationship with her dad.
Does he ever smile?
Not around me.
Was not expecting the animal sidekick to have a backstory in her own relationships, but there are entire sequences just between the two of them where Barbie's not even around. The big game changer for me was probably the way this movie looked. At first I was like, how did the animation improve so much since Nutcracker? But I think it's really just that they're lighting every scene better. And by better, I mean less. There are a lot of shadows, scenes at night, in dark spooky castles, in firelit rooms. Nutcracker also had the ugliest color palette. Everything was washed out pastels, neon green grass. Here the colors are still super saturated, but in more of a jewel tone way, and it completely works for me. They come together for this lovely, painterly look, and that works even better in the dim lighting. This universe looks cool and makes you want to go there, whereas in Nutcracker I kept thinking about how Barbie wanted to stay in the world at the end, and I'm like, well, yeah, it'd be cool to live in a world with magic as its queen, but does it have to look like that? It's like a fun would you rather kind of hypothetical exercise. Like, you get to be a sugar plum princess, but you have to live in an overexposed, crude CGI nightmare. I'm putting Barbie as Rapunzel on the amazing tier. I was a fan. Number 5, Barbie of Swan Lake. Let me just rip the band-aid off. I didn't enjoy this one. As a disclaimer, I've not seen the ballet Swan Lake, so my only touch point for this narrative is the animated film The Swan Princess. And by the animated film, I mean the entire Swan Princess cinematic universe, which exists. Anyway, I wouldn't exactly call The Swan Princess a high bar to clear, but I don't think this one clears it. My impression of Swan Lake from both of these adaptations is like, wow, it must not have a lot of story. Perhaps there are a lot of broad emotional concepts which then look cool as dances. That lady's a swan and she dances so gracefully. Oh no, the bad guy has arrived and he's dancing menacingly. It's my impression of A Night at the Ballet. I acknowledge that the ballet is probably quite fun, but this film right here, it's not doing a lot for me. The beginning seemed promising because we meet Odette in her everyday life. She's the very timid daughter of a baker who never goes out and does things socially.
Odette, you're a wonderful dancer. You should go to the village dances with your sister.
And have everybody stare at me? I couldn't.
And she has a sister who's a brave adventurer. I felt like they were setting up these dynamics because they would be central to the story, but they really weren't. I even kind of considered, hey, maybe this adventurer sister will be the huntress, since I saw her and thought she seemed to be in huntsman-adjacent clothing. So I thought maybe they'd do like a Frozen type narrative where it's more about familial love and give her the prince portion of the story and remove him or give him something different to do. But no, once Odette enters the enchanted forest, we get like one scene of her family wondering where she is, and they have no impact on the story whatsoever. They might as well have never existed. We don't see the dad again until the very end.
I still can't believe we're here. Or that you saved this enchanted forest.
And to my knowledge, we never see the sister again. I felt so gaslit. I was like, didn't she have a sister? Why have her in the movie if she didn't matter? Was that even her sister? Or like, did I misinterpret that scene? Is that just a friend or a random character?
Was that your sister?
Here and gone, Papa.
But no, Odette wanders into the enchanted forest and gets turned into a swan, and the sequence feels like a dream, and I don't mean that as a compliment. I mean that no one is emotionally reacting to anything that's happening in a way that rings true, and they deliver exposition in a way that I feel like only characters in dreams would do.
We came as quickly as we could. This crown will protect you.
I don't want to be a swan for the rest of my life.
And everybody is speaking at a sedate pace with pauses in between, which totally undermines any excitement, which I feel like this scene should have.
This is my forest. Mine. Just as it always should have been.
So Odette is stuck as a swan, and she dislikes that, but it never feels like it's a terribly urgent problem. Since they did already establish her family, they could have made them relevant here, like there's some kind of familial reason she needs to go back home. Maybe one of them is in poor health, or maybe the bakery truly can't stay afloat without her help. Aside from Odette, the other animals at the lake are also enchanted humans, but for some reason when they're animals, they speak with adult voices.
It's you! Our hero! Oh, give me hug!
And then, when they turn back into humans, they look like little child Kelly dolls, but they still have adult voices. I hate this. It's horrifying.
We are all thanking you for helping us from the hearts of our bottoms.
The bottom of our hearts, Ivan.
There was also another animal sidekick, a unicorn. I like unicorns, and I liked how she looked, but she had this sassy personality, which I found kind of annoying. So much of this movie honestly feels like it's just killing time. The most insulting part is probably when Odette decides she's going to go to a ball, but she's like, but I don't know how to dance at a ball. And the hideous Kelly dolls are like, we'll show you how to dance. We'll each show you how to dance. One at a time. Taking turns, and then we'll dance together in pairs. Then we'll all dance. And I'm sitting here like, gee, I wish something would happen.